And welcome to another episode of Which is Better?
Okay, we're gonna be doing. Me and Matt are gonna be debating which is the best Resident Evil game. I will be representing Resident Evil 0 for the GameCube.
And I shall be representing Resident Evil 4 for the GameCube, Wii, PS2, Xbox 360, PS3.
Is that a piece of paper?
You printed it out for me. You know what it is. Dude,
Oh,
you
right.
know... I forgot to bring my copy of Resident Evil 4, which is...
So we decided to be cheap and I printed out a piece of paper for him.
Yeah, it was the special limited edition, so I made him search the internet for this picture because it's the awesome limited edition.
Still got the scars to prove it. Anyway, so we'll be debating which one is better. I guess since 0 came first, I will go first. Okay, so...
Wait. First, before we go, there's one thing I want to point out, is that the very odd thing about this game is that these two games have both had an incredible history in production. Resident Evil 4 went through 3 or 4 different drafts before they finally settled on the final version, and it took forever to release. And they kept just spewing out different trailers for it. Like, there was one that was like based on ghosts. That
Get on with it. Yes, get on with it. Alright, get on with it.
Shut up. There's one that was based on ghosts. There was one that was like based around fog, and it just went on forever. And Res Zero was actually originally intended for the Nintendo 64, but the memory size required 2 cartridges, and when they eventually moved up to the GameCube, they had to rely on several clever programming tricks in order to cut down the loading times. So
Yeah, I think it's a smart thing they waited for the GameCube for this game.
yeah, they did. And
Okay, so can I go now or?
well, I just want to say that I respect both of these games equally, but I just kind of like Res 4 a bit better, and I'll explain why. Move
Okay. One reason why I like this game more is because I think that
You're bullshit! Okay, moving on.
Moving on to serious things. One reason why I like this one more is because I think that the horror was done better. Or for one thing. In this game, I always felt like I never knew what was going to be around the corner. That's not just because of the camera angles that the earlier games were known for. I think the atmosphere was done better. The amount of supplies you get to survive was done better, and I just thought it was a perfect setting where Resident Evil 4 when I was playing and I was just like, wait, am I playing a horror game or is this an action game? So, it does have some horror elements, don't get me wrong, but it's just at some points especially that one part at the end into where you're chasing we're getting attacked by a bunch of zombie-ish creatures, the Las Plagas, and the helicopter attacking him, okay, did I, put in my copy of, Gears of War accidentally or something?
You don't own Gears of War.
That's not my point. Anyway, another thing, one thing that I think was a very, very smart idea that they did with this game was the inventory system, which, I will admit, Resident Evil 4 did have a better inventory system, but this one was a big improvement over the classic style. Oh, they made it so that instead of having to always,
Look out for an item box.
Yeah, you had to, you could drop items finally. It was such a smart move, and they even put the location on the map for where you left certain items. That was such a good move. The other thing, what else is there? Oh yeah, the other thing, one of the smartest things they did, thank God they did this, was they gave you a second AI partner. Which
That was actually smart and not annoying.
Sheva. Anyway, it's just, for one thing, it makes the game more realistic. In the other games, sometimes when I play them, it was no! Why would you go alone? You're such an idiot! But in this game, they're smart. They stick together. And one of the other things that made it scarier was because, you rely on each other to survive, but multiple times in the game, and not too many times, which you would never know when it would happen, you would sometimes get forcefully separated, and you would never know when it's going to happen, and so, like, say you're playing as the character who has the shotgun, and you're like, the other person has the shotgun, and they get, like separated from you. That made the scene scary. I felt helpless. And not to mention, like, it was just also done so well. You had to exchange items with them, you had to share them equally. The bosses were also an improvement because you sometimes, for them, had to use teamwork with your AI partner. It's just so well done. I can't say it. I just can't describe it. It's just so well done. Okay, I guess that's all I'll say for now, and you go.
Okay. Well, Resident Evil 4 was the first game that...
Picture of the thing. I'm sorry, I can't get over that. You go on.
Okay, Resident Evil 4 was the first game that both of us had played, and honestly, it's the one that really got me hooked, and because of that, I really feel like I have an obligation to have it as my favorite, because it brought me into the series, and apparently it brought a lot of other people into the series. On top of that, it also finally got down the item system right, which was, like, very smart. Like, the attaché case system was very clever. I mean, yeah, it made you have to pause the game every time you wanted to switch out your weapons. But still, it was just clever, and everything was sized proportionately. It's not like in 5 where you only have like 9 boxes and an egg takes up the same size as a grenade launcher. In 4, an egg is the size of an egg. So you can organize your systems out better. Your weapons and stuff. Also, I also felt that the game was very scary. I mean, don't get me wrong, Res Zero was pretty scary as well. But this one also, I will disagree that you think that it's too action-based. I will admit there is some action elements in it, but a lot of it is also still horror. You still can't move and shoot, so you're always going to be backed up. The AI is a lot smarter. They'll actually, like, swarm you, and they'll, like, split up so they can, like, they'll split up so they can surround you, and you can find yourself getting sandwiched in between several groups of enemies. What else is there? And the horror... Oh, back to the horror element. Sorry, got sidetracked. Anyway, the horror element, well, I will admit it's not as scary as Res Zero. It's also, like... There was also some really great atmosphere, especially in the beginning, like, with the music and everything. You're just in, like, this mostly deserted, like, Spanish... Was it Spanish?
I think it was somewhere in Spain or somewhere in Europe.
I think it was Spain. Anyway, it was some Spanish-speaking country, but it was just so creepy. I mean, it's one of those games where you, like, play it in, like, the autumn when it's, like, the air is crisp outside and everything. It just fits so well, and the atmosphere was damn good, especially when you're moving, like, and it's always, like, dark and edgy and everything, and you were always on your toes, and a lot of the enemies did have, like, instant death moves, like Dr. Salvador will chainsaw your head off, which is, like, an awesome thing, because you can actually see, like, your head flop off, not like in the later games where it's, like, your body drops down to the ground, but sometimes if you get the camera at the right angle, you can see the head is still attached because of, like, censorship bullshit.
Resident Evil, the 4Kids edition.
And on top of that, this game also, the PS2, this game was apparently so good that it was originally intended to be a GameCube only release, but it was so good that they had to port it over to the PS2, and then they re-released it again for the Wii, and then now there are 2 downloadable versions online for the Xbox and the PlayStation 3 as well. So, because of its high success and its incredible gameplay and its awesome story and everything, I will admit though there is one flaw that in this game that just drives me nuts? Fucking Ashley. Fucking Ashley.
Yeah, that's another thing. Like, they got the AI partner better. Like, I will admit, Ashley does help you sometimes, but come on, how many times... She gets captured more often than Princess Peach, I swore, sometimes.
I know, right? And oftentimes you can accidentally shoot her.
Yeah, like, she'll get in the way, and in that one thing where it's the alternate costume, where you have her in the knight outfit, where you basically break the game so she can never be captured, or, like, she'll sometimes just stand there, and her armor keeps blocking the enemies. I'm just like, get out of the way!
And, oh yeah.
And also, what else was I gonna say? And one other thing, like I didn't like how they still made it so that you couldn't move and shoot in it. Because, like, look at it, it had the perfect controls. Like, they should have made it so you could move and shoot. The reason
yeah,
why
if they made it so that you could move and shoot, it wouldn't have been scary anymore.
Yeah, no. It still would have been scary because, like...
No, then it would have been...
Let me talk. Yeah, because here's how it works. It's like when you go into... hold down the button that makes you aim with, like, the Wiimote or the C-Stick or whatever version you're using, and you can't move it throughout the screen unless you move the joystick. Like, that's total bullshit. They should have made it so that you can aim anywhere with it, and you use the analog stick to move. And I'm not saying you should have been able to run and shoot. You should have at least been able to move slowly and shoot, so you could avoid things occasionally. That's one of the things that they got right in Resident Evil 3. You could evade enemy attacks. It made it more realistic. Why? Like, it's just like, they had the perfect opportunity to do it. Like, why wouldn't they do that? They didn't do that until, like, 6.
Yeah.
And that's in 2012.
Well, actually,
No, like, the 3DS ones...
Operation Raccoon City came first, but...
That's still 2012.
Yeah, but, and...
And because it's Operation Raccoon City, so it doesn't count.
Yeah, never, ever, ever...
Never mention it.
Yeah. If I wasn't the one who mentioned it, I would probably go into, like, a rage right now.
Yeah, and, like, what were you gonna say?
Well, if they took that out, then they would have taken out one of Resident Evil's trademarks.
Yeah, but it's one thing that also annoyed people sometimes. Like, in the PlayStation ones and in this one, it makes sense. Because, based on how the controls are, it would have been awkward to do.
Yeah.
And because the C-Stick, you could argue they could have made it so that you go into the over-the-shoulder view and then do that. But the C-Stick also controls the way the AI partner moves if you need it. I did find myself using that quite a few times.
Yeah, and, like, you can control the D-pad. You can control your partner, too, with, like, the D-pad, you mean.
Wait, you could?
Yeah. But
if
you're, like, playing as one character and you need one to, like, move.
Even so, that would be impossible to do with the, because the analog stick's here and the D-pad is there, so that would be impossible to do.
Yeah, but still,
not to mention it would be awkward.
Yeah, but if you, like, needed them to shift, you could, like, use the D-pad and nudge them someplace.
Yeah, that's true, but when you're talking about in a game like this, it would make an actual control stick, like the C-Stick, would make it so much easier.
Yeah. Anyway. If they took out the moving and shooting, then I actually feel like not being able to move and shoot is actually a bit more realistic, because have you ever tried to move while shooting something?
Yeah, I know it's harder, but that's only if you're moving, like running. If you're like slowly walking, then it's still not really as hard. It's a little harder, but it's still not too much harder, as you're just standing still.
Whatever. If they took it out, then they would have removed, like, one of the key aspects of, like, creating the fear, because when you're standing still, you're not able to move and shoot, then the enemies can, like, swarm you. That's one of the elements of fear in the game.
Yeah, well, you could also argue that one of the elements of fear was the awkward camera angles, which they got rid of that, and you're not really complaining about that.
Well, no, I'm not. But I'm really kind of partial to... I'm really kind of, like, half and half.
Yeah, like, I don't mind the awkward camera angles that much.
I really don't.
I don't find them that annoying as people did. And let's see, what was another thing? I'm trying to think. What was it? Oh yeah, the story mode. Like this one, like the story was so much. Also, the story was so much better in this game. And like they explain in the origins of the T-virus. They have great characters. This is like the first Resident Evil game where I actually think the characters were developed right. aside from Sherry Birkin in Resident Evil 2,
Yeah.
who like the story was better. Like
Yeah, because
aside from like
see how Billy's life went to shit. And
yeah, and you can also like something that annoyed me in the story in Resident Evil 4 was that like I just didn't see what was so special about it, and not to mention like I know that some people are probably going to disagree with me on this, but I didn't think that what they did in the game, like in story-wise, overall accomplished anything in their quest to defeat Umbrella.
well, it wasn't about Umbrella.
Yeah, like, I know it was like, but that's what they're trying to do overall in the Resident Evil
No,
games.
but it was
But
setting up
Umbrella
to-
just happened to be there.
No, it was setting up to Res 5. It was setting up to Res 5 because then Wesker got a hold of... Because then through Ada, Wesker got a hold of Las Plagas, and he was able to synthesize it with the progenitor virus, and then he was able to create Ouroboros.
True. But like, I just thought the story was more original. Like I just thought it told a better story.
Yeah, I do like how this one just decided to step away though from Umbrella, because if you keep focusing on the same thing over and over again, it's just gonna start to get tired and worn out, like you know how Resident Evil is today.
Yeah, like, but you have to remember, Umbrella wasn't exactly defeated after 3, so they would still have to kind of focus on them a little bit.
A little bit.
Yeah, like, which I am glad they focused at least a little bit, and not to mention like oh yeah, let's not forget how 4 had a significant lack of puzzles. Like there were so many less puzzles compared to the older games. Like I miss that. I like solving puzzles in the Resident Evil games. That's what they're good at. Like the ones that they do have in there are good, but there's just not as many of them.
I know.
I know that there's like a quantity over quality, but when both of them are pretty much equally as good, and one of them has more, or that's kind of tips the advantage in their favor. And I liked how going back to the AI partner system, and that's another thing they added. Some of the partners were based on using the AI partner. It was just such a good idea.
Yeah, like Res 4 had that too. Like there was that one part where you had to like stand on the 2 switches.
Yeah, that one part with that really simple puzzle.
There were some other things too, like you know how you used Ashley, how you like threw Ashley over the door so she could like open it from the other side.
Throwing Ashley
That's all what we all wish you
off
would
a
do.
cliff. And let's see, we went over gameplay, story, horror elements. I don't think there's really any need to go into music because they're both very good.
Yeah.
Boss fights we went over, I think.
I don't think we did.
Well, in this one we did at least. Well, I don't think Unit 4. Let's see, controls. I guess talk about bosses in that one.
All right. Bosses. Resident Evil 4's bosses were epic, and they were friggin' awesome. Like, the final boss battle, that was just awesome. And then there was the part where you went up against that one French midget guy.
Yeah, that was a pretty good boss fight.
Yeah.
And
there was another one of those boss battles, that one when the French midget guy sicks his, like, minion on you.
yeah.
That definitely
did have a creepy atmosphere.
Yeah, because that thing was like stalking you the whole time and you couldn't see it most of the time.
Yeah, like one other thing that I just remembered about, like one of the things why I think the gameplay in this one's overall better is because remember how in the story they introduced the thing with Leon having the virus inside of him?
Yeah.
And I was like, oh, that's so cool. Are they going to introduce that in the game some way? No. That was such a... Why wouldn't they do that? That would have been such a good...
the virus would...
That would have been such a good concept. They could have made it so that he could, like it would sometime hinder your gameplay. Like, you know how in Metal Gear Solid 3, if you wouldn't have enough food, your aim would be off or something like that?
Yeah.
They could have done something like that. And
Yeah,
you would have to
like
find, like, medicine, and where you would have to, like, slow down its progress, or... That would have been such a good concept. Why would they not do that?
Well, they sort of did that in Res 6. Like,
yeah, but we're not talking about Resident Evil 6. We're talking about 4.
I know, but... Yeah, you are kind of right, but the thing about the parasite is that it takes over your mind and makes you like into one of those zombie creature things.
Yeah, but only in the cutscenes. But I'm saying, like, they should have done that in gameplay. That would have been so cool.
Yeah, that is a good idea, though. I didn't think about that before. That is a clever idea.
And, like, one other thing, like, this is sort of a minor thing, but it sort of isn't. And, like, when you think, like, say you're a classic Resident Evil player, you've been playing the PlayStation games and possibly this one, you finally get it so you can aim more precise. You're like, oh cool, I can finally insta-kill zombies in the head. Why did he just go like, like I shot a paintball in his face or something? Being like, I know I sound like I'm nitpicking, but
You are.
I don't know. I just kind of was a little disappointed with that.
Yeah.
And like, I don't know. Is there anything else we can go over? I don't think there is really.
I don't know. I'm trying to think of something.
Let's see, bosses. No, I think that's it.
Oh wait, Resident Evil 4 also introduced the Mercenaries. The PS2 version had the Mercenaries minigame. You got to admit that was addictive.
It was cool, but like, I don't really have any problems with it. But again, it kind of felt like an action game at some points. Like, come on. In The Lost Plagas, shooting at you with miniguns where you have to try to hide behind cover. Come on, that's not horror.
I know. I will admit that it did start degenerating a bit into action after a while, but still, there was a lot of great atmosphere in it. There was a lot of creepy moments. There was a lot of suspension. There was a lot of really freaky scenes.
One more.
You cannot, and you have to admit that Dr. Salvador is pretty scary.
He was at first, but then when you upgrade your guns to be super powerful, it's not really that scary anymore. Or like that's one thing that it's cool how they do that, but with the upgrade system, I feel like it took away from some of the horror because it made it really easy after that, and there was no like challenge to it, and yeah, I just think that this game was overall done better, or as a horror game, and as a game in general for the most part.
Well, I just think Resident Evil 4 was a great introduction to the series, and with all the popular reception it's got, I think it deserves to be celebrated.
Yeah, I'm sticking with this.
And I'm sticking with this.
His piece of paper.
Yes, my piece of paper.
So lovely. Well, tell us who you thought had the better argument, which one you think's better, like, just whatever. Do what you want, I guess. And we'll see you later.
Sayonara.